Good morning, everyone. Dr. Claudia here. Today we're going to talk about why sleep is so important. Now, I know you guys are like, I know sleep is important. I feel crappy when I don't get enough. Me personally, I love sleep. But do you know why sleep is so important? Do you know why your brain really loves sleep? Let's talk about it. All right, let's go. So sleep has many different roles in your wellness, particularly brain wellness. So let's get started. The first one is physical restoration. Sleep plays a role in physical restoration. During sleep, many different processes take place that allow our bodies to recover from the previous day and get ready for the next day. Growth hormone, an important steroid produced by the pituitary gland, is mostly released during slow wave sleep. So let's look. Here deep in the brain is the pituitary gland. Little two parts to it. Very important. It releases growth hormone. So mostly during slow wave sleep. Remember slow wave sleep from our Sleep Basics talk? If you haven't seen it, go back and look. It's a pretty good talk. It's informative. So during this stage of sleep, growth hormone promotes cell reproduction and regeneration. Growth hormone is part of the signal pathway that regulates insulin and metabolism. It regulates the processing of fats and carbohydrates and is essential for the maintenance of bone and muscle. Very important. So here during deep sleep, we've got growth hormone. You got insulin regulation, which helps with the sugar and the processing, carbs, fats. Over here you have cell regeneration and reproduction. And all of this works together to maintain, the stuff that our bodies are made of. Really important. Bone, muscle maintenance, many other tissues as well. So then we go to sleep and wakefulness, which have an important impact on food intake. So again, we're back here, deep in here. Now we're going to look at the hypothalamus. So orexin neurons are a very specialized type of brain cell located in the hypothalamus. They stimulate food intake. They are most active during wakefulness, so it makes sense that you eat during the day when you're awake and that you don't wake up at night to eat, because during sleep, they're sleeping too, they're not active, and so they're not stimulating your desire to eat. Makes sense, right? Very good. All right, next, sleep is essential for memory. We know through research that certain stages of sleep are associated with specific memory processes. Stage 2 sleep, remember our deep sleep, is the time during which we encode what is known as semantic memory. Semantic memory includes things such as words and facts. It is also the time that we store episodic memory, which enables us to remember events and experiences. REM sleep over here is important for processing procedural memory, such as how to button your shirt or perform a certain dance sequence. It also facilitates emotional memory, which is how we associate emotions to particular memories. For example, you feel happy recalling that time you enjoyed at the beach with your family. Now, numerous other memory functions are tied to sleep, although we don't know the exact relationship. The ability to maintain attention on an activity is supported by adequate sleep. Maintaining attention is important for goal-directed activity, such as performing tasks at work or studying. People who sleep enough have better working memory. Working memory is a domain that allows us to hold information temporarily, mainly to guide decision making. It also organizes information so that it can be stored into long-term memory. So here, attention, working memory, decision making. Very important. So let's talk a little bit more about decision making. We're better able to discriminate between beneficial options versus something that is less beneficial. With good sleep, we are less impulsive. For example, I may be faced with deciding between buying 2 cars. This is fantasy land. So I'm deciding between a red hot Ferrari and a very, more practical, fuel efficient vehicle, right? So on less sleep, I might be more impulsive, blow a ton of cash on a Ferrari, and then have to spend a ton of money on gas, right? Because impulsively, I said, I want the red hot Ferrari. Well, with more sleep, maybe I'd be more able to discriminate between the pros and cons. Well, I will look very good in this Ferrari, but given my day-to-day life, driving around for work, perhaps the fuel-efficient car is better suitable to my lifestyle. We're better able to make these types of decisions with adequate sleep. So, next. We are sharper and more creative when we get enough sleep too. Research shows that adequate sleep increases our accuracy and response time when performing tasks. There is evidence that good sleep enables something called divergent thinking. That sounds pretty sci-fi, right? Well, divergent thinking is the ability to take a different direction from current or past thinking. That's how creativity happens. So, sleep supports creativity. Isn't that awesome? Sleep also supports emotional health. Loss of sleep triggers negative emotional processes. That means that when we do not sleep enough, we get more irritable, we're more emotionally volatile and quick to anger. Does that sound familiar? We are more sensitive in general and tend to react more negatively, even in situations we would usually treat as neutral. Even the ability, and now this is really interesting, even the ability to discriminate facial expressions suffers when we don't get enough sleep. So, for example, my husband's just like walking around looking normal, and I haven't had enough sleep, I'm emotional, and I go, well, you look like you're mad at me. Right? We've all been there. So, giving a few examples, but now I want to give a really important overall neurological health example, okay? So, let's go. You will recall that there are different hormones in the human body, right? We talked about growth hormone earlier. Growth hormone is important in the insulin pathway, which is responsible for sugar metabolism, right? That's sugar processing in the body. I also talked about appetite and food intake, which is impacted by sleep, as are decision-making and impulsivity. There's this really interesting study I read that showed how sleep deprivation impacted these domains and led to weight gain. In this study, they had 2 groups of people. One group got full night's sleep and the other only 5 hours. They each had access to the same foods in the same amounts. After being sleep deprived, the 5-hour group desired more high-calorie foods, ate more of the high-calorie foods, as well as more food overall. They did this despite no increase in physical activity and no increase in hunger. So they didn't necessarily feel more hungry even. It was thought that the appetite centers of the brain were thrown off by lack of sleep, and that the 5-hour group was also more impulsive and exhibited worse decision-making when it came to choosing foods to eat. You can imagine that over time, this would lead to weight gain. Furthermore, because the insulin pathway is impacted, it is thought that sleep deprivation may also increase risk of diabetes type 2. diabetes is very bad for the neurological system. I will have an entire talk on that in the future. So, you see, it's real world impact on your brain health, overall neurological health, physical health. Sleep is super important, not just to feel bright-eyed and bushy-tailed, but for real overall impact. I've thrown a lot of information at you. I really want to hear your questions, comments. So after clicking on this, I want you to either reach me by email at theneurocurious@gmail.com or give me some feedback in the comments section, or also you can reach me through Instagram, The Neurocurious. All right, guys, looking forward to some good naps for you guys, some good sleep, and we'll talk more later.